Caleb, make sure you got part of the room. I'm on a podcast.
Good evening, good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome back to another episode of High Top Sports. It's the best day of the week, ladies and gentlemen. Be sure to grab yourself some booze, sit back, relax with a jam-packed show for you guys. Of course, co-host for the evening, standing at 5'9", benches 295 pounds 15 times, Mr. David Swoderquist, ladies and gentlemen. And joining Dave and I today, Gator legend, Mr. Shannon Snell, ladies and gentlemen. Shannon, how we doing, man? Good to see you.
What's going on, guys? How y'all doing?
We are doing fantastic, sir. Thank you for coming on. Much appreciated. It's always fantastic to talk to a Gator legend like yourself. Obviously, we got a lot to talk about, man. Florida going down to Arkansas, tough loss. Twitter was going in a frenzy. And then, of course, I want to get your thoughts on LSU. But overall, man, what's your feelings, though, so far? We'll jump right into it. Overall take on Billy Napier and co. and just the direction of the program, man. I know you're vocal on Twitter, you know, being a Gator great, as we all are. How you feeling so far where everything's headed?
You know, I'm encouraged by some of the things I see. I think Florida has somewhat, I think they've been in a lot of games that they probably shouldn't have been. They've done some things that, hey, let's be realistic. I think, everybody picked Florida to finish like somewhere near the last of the SEC during SEC media days and everything that went on. So I think if they win one of these last games, they basically overshot their total. But I think they left a lot on the table. I think it really shows how talented the team is. And I think people need to realize and need to understand that Billy Napier, I know it's only year 2 for him, and there's a lot of comparisons among other coaches around the country and what he's done. But I think for all intents and purposes, he's still growing the program. I don't think you really can judge him or give him his report card until after the season or into next year. So everybody has to understand he's still a year and a half into his basically a rebuilding mode. And but I do think he's doing a good job. I think the team is somewhat overachieving. Shouldn't have beat South Carolina a couple of weeks ago. Really good comeback win. Went into the swamp and beat a Tennessee team that they were predicted to lose to. So some good things, some bad things. I think it's been somewhere in the middle of the road, kind of where we expect it to be.
Well, look, fantastic. And I think Coach Billy was asked about preaching patience. And in a way, right now, you're preaching, hey, patience a little bit. We need another let's complete this year, and we'll kind of be a little more, I would say, judgmental or critical going into next year. Now, on Twitter, just like the rest of us, you show frustration. And I've seen you're going back and forth with people of kind of like, hey, and I think that's something we've been battling with on the show here because we're being critical, but that doesn't mean that we're against Billy and where he's headed, but we're still frustrated and feel some changes need to be made. Obviously, the big noise is offensive coordinator, maybe a few other coaching changes. Are you on that boat, or are you kind of in the sense that, no, I still want to see the cycle that's putting into place of what's on the field currently?
Yeah, I think one week I could feel one way, another week I could feel a different way. I think that's like everybody on Twitter. After the South Carolina game, we all were praising Billy's name, and I think it is a process. I do think, me personally, just my own feelings, nobody else's. I think Billy needs to be freed up a little bit more to be the CEO and maybe even do some part-time play calling. A lot of times that responsibility, especially in the SEC where you have a lot, it's a little bit different from being in a different conference like the ACC the ACC is difficult as well, but being coming from University of Louisiana, it's a little bit different where he could do those things and he could be kind of like the play caller, the CEO, the recruiting coordinator. And the SEC is just a lot more to worry about talent-wise. Teams are better, Georgia's and the Tennessees and LSU's and all those teams. So I do think I would love to see him step more into a CEO role. Doesn't mean he doesn't have input into the play calling, because I think if there's nothing really wrong with the play calling. I think it's sometimes the game management. And if you have a lot to worry about, game day stuff, and then having to call plays on top of that, I think it takes away from other aspects. We talk about special teams and not being able to be the CEO of that kind of stuff, and you have to depend on different kinds of people for that kind of stuff. So I think if he could step away from it, I think the offense could be successful. I think the screen game could be nice. I think there's a lot of good things. It's just you need somebody specifically for that role because there's a lot behind it.
I think, I mean, that's spot on. That's something we've been saying. I don't know, just maybe just what you're saying, it just make it sound more refreshing. Right? And we've been kind of preaching that of, look, I think being the CEO, that's what Billy's gonna be great at, because right now he's trying to wear too many hats, and that's where we're seeing just the small blunders that we continue to see with it, whether it's special teams, whether it's mainly just special teams, or just maybe the offensive line. Now, obviously, you being playing offensive line during the Zook era, right? Did you play? Were
Mhm.
you there for last year, Spurrier?
I was there Spurs last 2 years. Yes, I was.
Last year, okay, and then you had a year of Zook. So, being a left guard, have they reached out to you? I've talked with the Pouncey brothers again, just about old players connection. Have they reached out, or have you? Is that something that you'd be interested in? Because that's always an intriguing thing to us fans. Of why don't they involve older players who are part of this culture that could, one, bring back that, just what it is to be a Florida Gator, but also being a great at your position as well.
Yeah, you guys. I mean, a lot of people that probably follow me and stuff know I'm around the program a lot. Whether it be in the fact that we're doing stuff for them, meal wise or whatever that's going to be. But I do have the chance, and I don't like to do it during the season. I think there's enough distractions throughout the season to where um, a former player coming around sometimes can be a distraction.
Mm.
They got things they need to worry about. So I think there is a level of commitment that you say as a former player that you need to come around during the off season, during the weightlifting times, during the times that these guys really need to, need that kind of, that former mentor, if you will. But I think between Rob Sale and Darnell Stapleton, I think they listen. Everybody's talking about the two offensive line coaches. They don't realize back in the day that I had two offensive line coaches, and between John Hunt and Jimmy Ray Stevens under Spurrier, those guys were there. So I don't think it's necessarily to do with that. I think it's one of those things where they just, as far as the coaching staff goes, as far as the players go, I think it's still in rebuilding mode. And I don't think it's due to the fact that players aren't coming around because you can see a lot of guys from the Swamp Kings era coming back. You can see a lot of that stuff happening. Now, I will say a lot of that didn't happen with the previous coaching staffs. A lot of them were guarded. A lot of them were kind of just Xing guys off the list just because they wanted to protect the program. They didn't want to be criticized, whatever you want to insert into that blank. I think what Billy's done is he's opened up a channel and opened up a network for guys to come back around. It's nice because you see it happen at Alabama, you see it happen at Georgia, LSU. These guys back around that program, and it's somewhat breeds that success from players that were successful. I think Billy's opened that door back up, and it's been nothing but good. You see Brandon Spikes there, right? You see Percy Harvin around the program. You see guys that really had a lot of success at the University of Florida that can speak to these guys about that success and really form that bond. And I think that's what it's all about. But it takes time, which everybody just needs to chill and understand is that a lot of these things, a lot of these relationships, a lot of what he's doing, it may not work. All right, I'm not going to be the guy that says, hey, this is going to work, but it's at least it's in a solid foundation versus where we were at a previous point.
That's interesting. Percy Harvin, that's going to get people. That's going to perk some ears up. That he's around the program. Chime in a little bit. So that's cool to hear. There is a super chat. Quick question from the live chat. It says, Mr. Sell, aka Pitmaster, you look much better sitting there than the FSU forehead. Our other co-host is an FSU fan, so that's who he's referring to. And I couldn't agree more. And he also says, "Go Gators." Dave, what do you got for me, man?
Yeah, I was gonna ask, man. Obviously, there's the defense and the offense have been kind of like as the season has went on, they've been trading places. I think the defense was playing pretty spectacular at the beginning of the season, not missing that many tackles, not giving them up that many points, and the offense couldn't get going. I mean, we just couldn't get a rhythm. The South Carolina game finally happens. The defense kind of didn't have a great game though, but Spencer Rattler's had phenomenal stats for having the offensive line and everything that he's had. So I really didn't take away too much from that game defensively, and I know we got a lot of young guys back there. As far as the defense kind of gradually getting a little bit worse as the year went on and the offense getting better as the year was on, what do you kind of take away from that? Do you think that like maybe there's I'm not even going to say a disconnect or anything like that, but do you think that maybe like some of these defensive players maybe are starting to lose a little bit of confidence? Maybe the offense is starting to gain confidence. What do you take away from like both of those sides of the football?
Well, you can look at it two ways, right? I mean, early in the season, we weren't playing the talent of teams that we're playing now later in the season, at least offensive talent. I think
Yeah.
Tennessee was a little bit overrated offensively, right? But you had Charlie, you had a bunch of teams that were sprinkled in there that weren't very good offensively that couldn't put a lot of points on the board. And Austin Armstrong has a pretty good defensive scheme. If anybody really took a look at it, it's a good defensive scheme. Now, take a look at Florida's too deep. You're playing a lot of freshmen. You're playing a lot of sophomores. You're playing a lot of guys that hadn't played a lot of football. So
Yeah.
as the season naturally goes on, those guys either get worn down, they get mentally fatigued, they hit that kind of what they call in the NFL the rookie wall.
Hmm.
So there's a lot of things being counted against the defense, and even assignment football. You got some of the older guys that are counted on to do a little bit more, have a little bit more, assignments to do more things. So, and it's still a brand new system, which everybody doesn't understand. Is that there's going to be rockiness in it. It's not like, hey, you bring in a new defensive coordinator, he's Monty Kiffin of the old Tampa Bay Buccaneers, and you start firing on all cylinders. That's just not what it is. We would love for it to be that, but it's just not what it is. So there's holes in the defense, and coming out the gate, nobody knew what Austin Armstrong was going to be. So he was surprising a lot of guys. But as stuff starts to get on film and things start to go on tape, you start to scheme around his defensive scheme. And if
Mm.
you don't have the players or not the talent, because I think Florida's very talented. We see a lot of these young guys, but if you don't have the experience on defense, you don't have those guys that are up to that level of a much more mature team, then you're going to get a lot of points scored on them. You're going to get holes in that defense. You're going to get things that they're going to make freshman or sophomore mistakes. So I do think he's the right guy for the job. I do think everything that we've seen scheme wise, it's like, hey man, we're loving the blitzing off the edge. We're loving the fact that he's creating pressure, things that we hadn't seen in the last couple of years. And even at that point in time, I think once he gets his guys and some big defensive tackles in there that can hold the line of scrimmage, and his linebacker core, which is kind of tops in the country right now as far as recruiting goes. Once these guys come in and he gets these guys settled down, I think you'll see exactly what the defense is going to be. Now, this is not a shot against the offense, because the offense has somewhat been a revelation. But once again, offenses start slow, right? As the season goes on, Billy gets these guys fired up. They start to understand the scheme. These guys get going, and then all of a sudden you get offensive explosions like you did at South Carolina. Or you have guys come. You got a Florida Gator team which never should have came back from 14-0 down in the first quarter to then tying the game up and making it a game. So there's a lot of things counted against them, but they're a young team and they're going to get better. I think people just need to understand that.
Now let me ask you this, because I know I love asking former players questions, because then I get to figure out what actually what happens with players and how everything else goes. Now we have Jason Marshall. He's been there for a long time. He's a veteran player. Jane Hill, veteran player. Kimber, veteran player, college wise, really hasn't really started, I guess, until this year on the other side of the football with Jason Marshall. They've given up the most yardage on this team out of all the defensive positions. Now, how do you that attribute? Is that part of, being a veteran player, trying to learn a new system, having two DCs like that? And I would say, I guess it's a mixture of maybe not, getting a lot of pressure from the D line on top of that. But how do you attribute? Because I expected a heck of a lot more from Jason Marshall this year, and I'm not going to just blame it on him. You got to blame it on some of the coaching staff, all that other kind of stuff too, getting prepared for games. How do you attribute veterans kind of struggling right now with this new defense or Austin Armstrong, or is it just like a mentally hard thing to do when you start changing coaches like that?
Yeah, it is. You talk about there's certain positions on the field that will struggle in a new system versus a player that you could probably plug and play, right? So you got kickers that are naturally just going to kick the ball through the uprights, right? That's the easiest position when it comes to knowing your assignment and knowing what to do. Or a punter, you know how to punt the ball. Hey, that's just what it is. But there's specific positions such as quarterback and offensive line, which they play together, and cornerback specifically, because if you're a cornerback used to playing in a man coverage system, then all of a sudden you have to switch to a cover two system. That's really weird. That messes with your head, or even a cover three, which we saw last year under a different defensive coordinator. So you got a
Yeah.
guy who Jason Marshall's talented. I think a lot of people that watched him over the course of the last couple of years realize how talented the kid is. He's going to be a guy that plays in the NFL. Don't know what round he goes, but he's going to be a guy that plays in the NFL. I don't think you can really count what happened here in college. It's just take a look at what happened with Marco Wilson. I think a lot of his talent and what he did is based off the fact that he had a bunch of defensive systems he had to run. He came in his last year just wasn't very good, but that's just because he was trying to take on too much. He was adjusting to a system on the fly. It didn't fit him. It didn't fit his skill set. And I think the same thing could be said about Marshall. I don't think he's a bad player. I think he's a great player. Before the season started, he was one of those guys that could have gone in the first round of the NFL draft here coming up next year. Can that still happen? Maybe, and if he tests well and things happen to fall in his favor. But it's not due to the fact he's a bad player. It's just maybe the scheme doesn't fit him. He's still trying to figure it out, or even he's trying to help other guys, those young freshmen, those young safeties, those young cornerbacks below him, try to figure this scheme out too. Because just as much as everybody believes, these guys come into college and you have 1 to 2 years to learn a system before you're really thrusted in to start playing. Well, when you get a new defensive coordinator, you're going to be a freshman all over again because you're learning the same system as those guys coming in after you. So you can't automatically say, well, you're talented enough to learn the defensive scheme and become and be that same player. That's just not the reality of the situation.
So speaking kind of just to that, you saying he's worried about his players, the guys around him. Look, possibility he's just not trusting, and not in a negative way, the freshmen around him to follow their position. So he's thinking, second guessing what he's about to do because the team around him is so young. So that is something to speak about. Look, I think it's gonna be promising to hear. A lot of people are gonna be excited to hear about the scheme that Armstrong is calling, and it is refreshing because we all want to believe that. Look, we keep stating that it is a young team, but I was starting to doubt myself a little bit because if you look at the 247 recruiting talent level, we're top 20. And you did say, hey, the team is talented, but that doesn't talent and experience are not the same thing. Those are two different areas of on the football field. So if you don't have a lot of experience, like you said, you're going to hit that rookie wall. Fatigue starts to set in. And I was starting to think, like, I played golf in high school. I've talked about that. When you don't play 18 holes a lot, you go into that second 9, you start to get a little bit tired. I'm solid 1 through 9, but you start to struggle in that back half, and that's just the lack of playing. That doesn't mean I'm a bad golfer. I haven't worked on that second half of the game yet, and that's where that new team is. So also a good point, like you just said, this is a whole new system. This is 3 new systems in 3 years. So Jason Marshall has had a new defensive coordinator year after year after year, and has still been somewhat a very effective cornerback. I think they started using him a lot better the last few games, coming off the edge, getting some big stops, jumping up. I think Armstrong realized I'm not utilizing him in the right way, which also compliments, I think, Armstrong and the ability to adapt. Would you say that?
Well, I do think you bring into another point into the light is that for great cornerbacks, you can take a look throughout time. Those shutdown cornerbacks that have came out of college have had somewhat good defensive lines. Like I can rewind it back to when Lito Shepherd came out of the University of Florida. He had guys like Alex Brown and Gerard Warren, and he had guys creating pressure up front that wasn't going to let the quarterback sit on his spot all day and just have 5 or 6 seconds to find a receiver. I don't know really any great corner that can cover a receiver for 5 seconds. That's just not a realistic situation.
Sure.
Joe Hayden, you can go back throughout time, even just with the Florida Gators, but beyond that. So I do think there is something to be said about the talent around the entire team, about creating pressure, about understanding the defensive scheme that will ultimately help another guy in the mold of Jason Marshall, because we'll have other guys like that. So I do think the overall defensive scheme will work. It's just that all the parts have to fit together before it happens at that point.
It's always refreshing. We have Stephen Harris. He comes on every Monday. He was in here earlier saying Big Snell, so he was happy to see you. But it's always a refreshing take from older players, right? I mean, you play the game, you have a much more realistic expectation, unlike us fans, which were fanatics. We went through the urban era, so we're just like, a coach should just be able to show up and win. Can you talk to that a little bit of why that isn't a realistic expectation anymore, or should it be?
It should be. It absolutely should be. I mean, listen, we can talk about what they are and how much we dislike them, but Mike Norvell set a precedence in the portal, going to get guys that fit his system, that fit his scheme. Keon Coleman instantly went to that team from Michigan State and became the best wide receiver probably in the country. I mean, there's some others up there with him, and he decided to build his team through the portal. It's just a realistic fact. If the portal wasn't there, I said, yeah, you got to wait. You're going to have to wait through recruiting. You're going to have to wait, a couple of years to be good. And I think with the recent success of like Kirby Smart and, anybody else you want to insert into that mix that has been successful, even maybe Deion Sanders. I mean, anything Colorado did this year was better than last year, so you can't really put them. But You talk about even Kirby Smart would be the direct comparison since they are in the same division, same conference. Um, if he's able to do it, if our in-state rival in Florida State is able to do it, you see what Mario Cristobal is doing down at the University of Miami. He's got them, playing really well. They've lost a few games, but I think you're being compared to your basic counterparts, right?
Sure.
Not somebody across the country, not somebody that's in a relatively different system. I think with the portal you're able to win now, and I don't judge. I don't dislike Billy's system. I like that he's building it at his basic foundation through recruiting. But I do think at some point in time when you got one of the toughest schedules in the country coming up next year, that you may have to go into the portal. You can't wait 2 more years. I just don't think that's a realistic fact with fan base and boosters and a lot of people that that will give Billy his report card.
You just killed a piece of David. Dave, I just want you to know that Keon Coleman, we have a Discord that they constantly argue about Keon Coleman and how great he is. And Dave is constantly shunning Keon Coleman. We have some FSU guys in there that are going to be. I imagine your clip is going to live forever in our Discord now for you giving Keon Coleman his flowers. Look, you're not wrong. I get it. I'm just letting you know.
Yeah.
I appreciate you giving us hell. We're going into hell after this show. Shannon, I just want you to know. You set us up. Okay. You buried us.
Okay. Yeah. I hate to do that to you guys, but it's he's one of the best players on one of the best teams in the country.
You don't have to say it again. You don't have to say it again.
Okay. Okay. But you know what it is. You know kind of what it looks like.
No. Look, I agree, man. I like to hate on FSU as much as I can, and I agree. I call Mike Norvell the Portal King. He's done a phenomenal job. I also say, look, they don't have much behind it, right? So we don't know what FSU's going to be, but we also know what Mike Norvell can do in the portal. So who knows what's going to happen? I've got one more question. Then I want to get your thoughts about the FSU LSU game. Holly, who's the co-host, says, "What is your preferred barbecue style? Kansas City, Carolina, Texas, or Memphis?"
I'm probably Texas. I'm a Texas guy. I learned how to do my brisket out in Texas. It is legitimately, it's Texas. It's nothing else but Texas. I do like Kansas City because the fact of I do like sweet sauces. I like incorporating them into things like ribs and stuff like that. But as far as brisket and beef and just overall barbecue, it's all Texas.
I love it. And then Professor, he said $10. He says Snell versus Professor in a rib cookout. You're being called out in our chat for a cook-off.
In a rib cookout, listen. If somebody wants to challenge me in a rib cook-off, I'll take all comers, and you're gonna lose.
Oh,
go!
I love it. I love it, Mr. Snell. Look, I do appreciate you again coming on here. This has been, I love always getting your different perspectives, and just you're very vocal on Twitter, and I think that's also great for you to have an ability to speak. Us tweets are always can be mistaken. They're like emails, right? I heard today from my buddies who says how emails are perceived is how that person feels at that time when they read it. So it doesn't matter how you word it. How that person is feeling when they consume it is how they're going to take it. And sometimes that's how Twitter works in the same way. Right. Tell them where they can find you before I ask you this last question, and so they can kind of keep up with it, because you're like myself, very animated on Twitter when it's rolling. You're ripping it out. I love it.
Yeah, so you can find me on Twitter at TheBigBossSS. It's not even called Twitter anymore. It's called like X, isn't it? So
yeah, I know. My
anymore.
bad.
I'm not going to call it X. I'm calling it Twitter. So it's like, but you can find me at TheBigBossSS, or you go on Instagram at Relationship Ribs. A lot of times people send me messages. I try my best to respond to everybody. So if I miss something, just keep sending it, because I promise I respond. That's where I do most of my interaction and all that good stuff.
Where can we get a taste of some of your cooking? How do we get our hands on that?
So, and look, I'll be at the Florida State tailgate. That'll be the last home game of the year. So here's a kind of a spoiler alert, is that I just bought a Sonny's Barbecue in St. Augustine, Florida. I bought one myself and my partner. We bought one. We're building a brand new store in St. Augustine. So St. Augustine will be somewhat home for me. It'll be my second home. Gainesville will be my first home, but it'll be my second home. And so if you guys want to catch me in there, the store will be open sometime in July of 2024. So if you happen to vacation in St. Johns County over in St. Augustine, come on into the store. I will probably be there. I'll be happy to see you.
It's where I live. We're at US One.
US One, right next to the car museum
Yeah,
on US
yep,
One in the shores. It's
yep.
right next door to it. We're building in
Oh,
that big lot next door.
but it's across from where the Food Lion was, right? Like right around that area.
That's
Close
correct.
to that. Okay, but
Right
I haven't been
shores.
down there in forever. Is it blowing up down there for you guys to put a Sunny's down there?
It is. It is. It's basically. I mean, all these homes and stuff have gone down there. Of course,
Sure.
they ran the analytics, so it's going to do a lot of money. So we decided this is just the perfect spot for it. It's sometimes when you get in, not where you get in, and when you get in, this is like the perfect time, perfect spot. So it's awesome. It's an awesome thing.
Incredible. Well, I'll have to reach out to you because I'm going to be at the Florida State game, bringing the wife down. So I'm going to reach out.
Okay.
We're going to come by. We're going to scoop some food up from sure. But let's get your prediction on the LSU game. Jaden Daniels, it's kind of day to day, but I imagine he plays. I don't know if that's going to make a difference in your prediction here, but let us know what's going to be the difference maker if Florida is to make the upset happen, and then we'll end it with a score prediction.
The offensive line hasn't played well. I think too many times they've had these moments of lapses in the game. They're going to have to run the ball, just like against Tennessee in the historic series between them. Whoever runs the ball well generally controls the game and wins the football game. I think it's going to be controlled at the line of scrimmage between both teams. I think everybody's talking about Jaden Daniels and Graham Mertz and what they're going to do. I do think they're both going to get theirs. I think it's going to be somewhat of a high-scoring game. LSU can't stop anybody. I do think Florida's going to come with a pretty good game plan. So expect this thing to be high scoring. I do expect it to come down to the kicking team. And I know special teams has been one of the things all year we've talked about, whether it be like the mental lapses, the blunders, the penalties. I, for some reason, think Trace Mack kicks the game-winning field goal, and Florida ends up winning somewhere right, like a 31-30 game.
A little rebound from last week.
Yeah. I think once again, I mean, the game could go higher than that. I do think Florida comes out and plays well. And listen, there's something about playing at Death Valley at nighttime that gives you goosebumps. It is one of the most, we talk about stadiums. It's one of the most fun stadiums. Those LSU fans are super crazy, but they're super fun to be around. I think Florida gets up for this game, and I think they end up taking it.
I love it. You heard it here first, ladies and gentlemen.
Hey, if they wind up taking it, nobody's firing Billy Napier on Twitter anymore. Or X, right?
We're back.
Oh no, just this week. Next week will be different.
We gotta go to Mizzou. So yeah, at least for 5 days, he'll save face and he'll sleep well, sorta. We'll be right back.
He'll be safe.
Mr. Shannon Snell, thank you again, man. I appreciate you coming on here. This has been an absolute pleasure. We'd love to have you on again, and I'll be sure to hit you up to come see you down for that Florida State game. Are you gonna be there too, Dave?
I'm thinking about it. It depends on how my Thanksgiving plans go, but I'm gonna try to see if I can open that up.
Fair enough.
Yeah, if you guys come, I'll see you guys there. Just shoot me a pin, and I'll let you guys know where I'm at.
Yes, sir. Well, appreciate you, man. Thank you. Be good. Can we get a Go Gators before you head out?
Go Gators.
Yes,
Let's
sir.
go.
Yes, sir. Thank you, man. Appreciate you.
Thank you, guys.
And then we have to figure out a transition from when we have fantastic guests
There's
on like
gotta be
that
something,
to
right?
go into you.
There's got to be some kind of a screen transition that can just give the people out there a heads up that
like an easy transition.
It's about to get a lot more handsome on this show.
I need it. It's not even for the people. I need it. I feel horrible for Dave and the Discord family for what Harlan and you are about to do as soon as he said it, I go, oh no.
Oh, I've already put it in the chat. It's out there. Oh, now we have to live with it, ladies and gentlemen. And look, that was completely unsolicited. Obviously, we did not. He
didn't even talk to him. He didn't even talk to him.
Come on, that was just us clearly AI generating Shannon saying something like that. That has nothing to do.
Shannon wasn't even here. That wasn't even him.
No,
we got you guys.
Completely off the record. Yeah. No, it's that high top money. We've got AI money now.
Absolutely. Yeah. Hey guys,
talk right now. I mean, it can talk for me.
Awesome news, ladies and gentlemen. Just before the show started, we eclipsed 18,000 subs. So, unbelievable. 18,000 people were like, "Yeah, this is a good idea." And click the subscribe button. So, I really appreciate you guys again showing us love constantly and always hanging out with us. It means a lot. But let's dive into it. Obviously, Arkansas, ugly loss, tough loss. We were able to hash it out. Moving on to LSU. Let's going to talk about it with us for a little bit. But Steve, we're going to leave you here. It's enough of you for now. We're going to get into Gators and LSU by the numbers with Dave and I. All right, boys and girls. Gators versus LSU by the numbers here. So, little segment we've been doing for the last few weeks, just to kind of get a gauge, get a breakdown. Now, what is interesting, something you tweeted out earlier this week, Dave, the talent profile. We have been the highest rated talent profile of any team we've played outside of Georgia, correct?
Not LSU.
Not
who's
LSU.
Playing now, but
Okay.
yeah, Arkansas, Tennessee, yeah, pretty much.
But then you also subtweeted it with. Oh, we also have one of again the youngest team, something that Shannon Snell was just emphasizing as well, that the youth is something that is.
I think it's fair, like when you're going by talent profile, to also go by like experience on the team too, because you can have a 3-star senior, junior play better than a 5-star freshman. So that's why I kind of like did the whole percentages and all that other kind of stuff too. That wasn't even mine. Somebody else brought it to me.
Yeah,
so
I saw you. So for the talent matchup here, we've got two quarterbacks. Their quarterback just happens to be the number 1 rated quarterback of PFF and Jaden Daniels. Again, still questioned day to day. Yeah, I would be shocked if he did not play. Regardless, again, everyone's going to be like, well, what about a safety? Brian Kelly don't care about no player safety. Let's be honest. If he can walk, he can play. That's how it's going to be. We have Graham Mertz as the top 100. He's at 93. He's slowly slid down week after week. For running backs, we've got 1. They don't have any. For linemen, 4-4. Straight wash. And for wide receiver to tight end, it's 2-1. And then safety, DBs, linebackers, neither of us have it. So we hold the edge with talent players on the football field. Again, what does that speak to? We've got a lot of talent there, which we just said, but there's still a lot of youth, which is where we see the errors, where we see the, being depleted. And we had the segment just a few weeks ago, is Armstrong over his head. Shannon Snell just kind of came in and said, look, his schemes are great, but when you've got a young team, sometimes scheme can get washed up a little bit. So that was, again, a very interesting take. I know you got some numbers for us as well, Dave, in the cornerback play. On our side, obviously, LSU's cornerback play has been atrocious as well. And what's kind of funny is I watched Brian Kelly's press conference, and, most press conferences, they'll come out, they'll have an opening statement. Maybe they'll ask a few questions about last week, and then a lot of it gets into prepping for the team that lies ahead. Unless you're on the hot seat or you're facing some adversity, which Billy has faced over the last few weeks, there's been zero questions to him about LSU. It's all been, why do you suck here? What's going on here? What are you doing there? The last guy asked him about LSU. I watched Brian Kelly's press conference. Same exact thing. Why does the defense sucks? What do you say to this? What do you say to having the worst defense in the last 20 plus years? Just ragging him about it. And nobody really asked about the Florida Gators and what's coming up this week. So both coaches, in a way, are sitting in the same boat right now.
Yeah, I mean, it's amazing. I went and watched that presser too, and I remember Billy Napier saying, "Oh, thanks for asking me about LSU this week."
It's a classic.
I mean, like when you're in that kind of a situation as a head coach, it's really, I guess you could say it's sucky, but I mean, like you got to expect that when your team's not performing up to par, you lose to a 2-6 team you should have never even lost to. You're gonna get a lot of questions about a game, not even related to next week. And I was kind of actually upset too, because I wanted to get an injury report, who's healthy, who's not. I wanted to know a little bit more about the game plan against LSU and see if they changed anything up. We didn't really get to hear that, so we just got a depth chart this week. So anyway, by the numbers, LSU against FBS opponents, man, they are the 5th ranked third down conversion percentage in the nation at 52.33%. Now, this is against FBS opponents. They do take the FCS opponents out on teamrankings.com. That's why I like it, because you can basically pad your stats against FCS teams. Florida's ranked 38th in defensive third down conversion percentage at 35.35%. So Florida not really too bad on third down, but obviously giving up a lot of points, yardage as the season's gone on. LSU's ranked 3rd in points per game against FBS opponents, averaging 41.9 points per game. If you add FCS, it's like around 45. They're ranked 96th in points per game allowed against FBS opponents, though, which is the key here, 30.5 points per game allowed. I think that's almost dead last in the SEC, or it is dead last in the SEC. They're ranked 34th in turnover margin per game at plus 0.4, so they're kind of even on the turnover margin. Florida's ranked 73rd at negative 0.1, but they did get a few turnovers last week against Arkansas, so it bumped those numbers up a little bit. LSU's ranked 97th in penalties per game at 6.6. They do get a lot of penalties. but Florida's also ranked 92nd at 6.5. So I think Florida, towards the end of the season, they cut out a lot of those penalties in the Georgia-Arkansas game. They're ranked 88th in passing yards given up per game at 246.3, which could bode well for Graham Mertz. Florida's ranked 52nd at 222.6. So a little bit better for Florida there in the passing game. LSU's ranked 95th in rushing yards given up per game, which this is a time where you run Montrell and you run ETN. I especially want to see more of ETN since he's averaging 6.1 yards per game. They give up 172 rushing yards per game. Florida's 70th at giving up 153. Now, LSU's quarterback, Jaden Daniels, the number 1 ranked quarterback in the SEC against all the other quarterbacks, 2,791 yards, 27 touchdowns, 4 interceptions, 70.6% completion rating, 11.1 yards per attempt. That is insane as compared to the other quarterbacks. I even think Carson Beck's at like 9.5. He's at 11.1. He's only been sacked 17 times, is a dual threat guy. Teams have been able to get to him, though. So, I mean, the sack numbers are okay. I mean, they're not bad. They're not good either. LSU receivers, this is the scary part. Malik Neighbors, 1,152 yards. He leads the SEC in receiving yards. 10 touchdowns. He's averaging 17.6 yards per reception. Brian Thomas, the second leading receiver on their team, 768 yards. Both those guys have more yards than Ricky Pearsall does, except for Brian Thomas. I think he's got 3 yards less than Ricky Pearsall. He's 5th in the SEC in yards with 11 touchdowns, averaging 17.1 yards per reception. And their third leading receiver, 396 yards, Kyron Lacey, 4 touchdowns. He's averaging 19.2 yards per reception. Between the three, they catch 70.6% of the balls thrown to them, with Brian Thomas leading at 81.8%. They also average 18 yards per reception, and they average 251.6 yards per reception each game with just those 3 guys. So that's a lot. Not per reception, but receiving yards. My bad. 251.6. That is ridiculous.
Let's bring Steve back in here. So this is what gets me a little nervous, because his ability to run, which we saw KJ Jefferson tore us up on the football field. We haven't really had an answer for any quarterback that's been able to run. Joe Milton really didn't try to run that much, so I'm not going to even say that he was a mobile quarterback. He had the ability to, but he doesn't really use his legs like KJ Jefferson started to use his legs. And then just that ability to sling the ball 50 yards on the football field and drop it in a basket. I mean, KJ Jefferson killed us with it. Joe Milton killed us with it from time to time. Those things scare me. Look, I agree. The running game, just give it to Trevor. I don't know. It's something I feel like we all think we have the answer, but Trevor just looks like he just runs with just a vengeance. He just makes plays happen over Montrell. And Montrell's a great back. It's just Trevor is just that much better. I feel like week in and week out. Now he hasn't playing banged up, so that could be a reason why we're seeing less and less reps. So not too. I know. I feel like he's got to be good to go now, right? He's got to be locked and loaded. Look, this game, I said this before the Arkansas game. The Arkansas game scared me more than the remaining 3 games. Just how it was lining up. Noon game, blackout. Everybody's pissed about the blackout because it wasn't what they wanted it to be. You got a team that's coming in and just fired their offensive coordinator. They had 2 weeks. The offensive coordinator had 2 weeks. He's in a position to try to make a name for himself. Sam Pittman's on his last lifeline. That's a recipe for disaster. You're making excuses, Shelton. I'm pointing to the facts. You're going up against a team that, look, a lot of people had winning 6, 7, 8 games this year. Everyone's kind of shocked with what the Arkansas team came out and did. And now the narrative is like Arkansas really isn't that bad of a team. They damn near lost by 3, 4, or 5 points every team they played, including Alabama. So look, it's not like they were just some walkover team. It wasn't like Vandy lost last year. Let's put it that way. It was a tough loss. Should have won it still. I still believe that, but it wasn't the same loss to Vandy. Now, in the next 3 games, we're kind of what we've been all year long, the underdog, where nobody expects us to win. Nothing to lose. At this point, let the bitch fly, Billy. You have nothing. Everyone's already anticipating a 5-7 season. Like, that is etched into the gravestone. So if you do anything more than that, you're going to save the season, I believe, for most Gator fans. I think the realistic ones are kind of already bought in, accepting like, look, we knew the season was going to be what it was, and we, progress. I would have liked to see more. That's kind of where I'm at, but I also understood like, the possibilities of what could happen this season. But This is what happens, bro. You forget about it, you sleep off a few days, and then you get to the honeymoon stage. That's a possibility. Look, we could also get blown the fuck out. LSU can score at the snap of a finger. I'm completely aware of this. But y'all know how the boy rides, okay? Gators by a fucking million. I am more amped, and I feel more positive about this game than I do Mizzou. Now, I feel, hey, don't even get me talk about FSU, okay? I got crocodile sewing my bare titty by that game, okay? I got heels with light up on the back. Say want to fuck. That's how I feel. That's how I feel about FSU. I feel damn good about FSU. Okay, but Mizzou, that one worries me because it's like Mizzou. But LSU at night, let's sign me up, baby. I'm feeling pretty good about it. You know what I mean?
My. If I had a nickel for every time you guys felt good going into a game that you were the underdog, I'd probably have.
You could retire. You wouldn't be sitting here talking to my ass every week.
No, I'd have like 35 cents because you guys are 5-7. No, look, here's the deal with this game, right? In going into the Georgia game, there was some optimism that if some things went Florida's way, that Florida had a shot in that game. Things got out of hand so quickly.
Never even saw it.
I don't even really think it was out of hand, right? I think it was out of hand in Billy's eyes to where he changed his game plan too much and got away from the run. I think if you guys stayed with the run, considering the youth at the linebacker level for Georgia, I honestly believe you guys could have had a better chance to dig yourself out. Hell, just play keep away if nothing else. LSU, I feel like, is going to be similar in that regard. LSU can score and they can score fast. They give up a ton of yards on the ground. Now, granted, they're not very good in the secondary either. They came into this season with a transfer from Syracuse and a transfer from University of Louisiana. The Syracuse guy's already gone, if I'm not mistaken, Deuce Chestnut. So he's not even there. They started out with two guys who were below average, and now one of them's already left. So that kind of gives you an idea of what they're working with. That being said, it's going to come down to whether or not Billy has the patience to stay with ETN and with Johnson throughout this game. Because, look, LSU is going to score points. And if he starts to get a little unnerved by the fact that they are a high-scoring, fast, up-tempo offense that sometimes doesn't need more than 5 plays before they're putting points on the board, well, he's going to get away from the run and he's going to fall right into the trap of, well, if LSU is bad at defense, sometimes they can figure it out if they make you one-dimensional. So Billy is, if he stays within his game plan, if Florida's close with LSU and he doesn't feel that quick scores are putting him in a position where he's got to answer to a quick score with a quick score, if he can play the slow, methodical game, I believe that he can wear down LSU and have the ability to do pretty much anything he wants on offense with Graham Mertz at that point towards the second half. But if he gets away from the run too early like he did against Georgia and becomes one-dimensional, LSU isn't so bad that they can't figure out how to slow down a one-dimensional offense in the second half. So we'll see if he can stay committed, stay patient. The run game is a level, it is a gauge on a head coach's patience with that game plan. If Billy can stay patient in his game plan of running the ball and not get away from it too quickly, I think that he can stay with LSU and make a little noise there towards the end of the fourth quarter.
LSU's ability to score at will just frightens me, Dave.
It scares the hell out of you as a head coach. It really does.
Yeah, I think Holly hits the nail on the head here because I was going to think of the same game plan. I mean, as you said, LSU's given up 172 rushing yards right now on average just against FBS opponents. They've already missed 80 missed tackles. 48 of their missed tackles has been in run defense. So I say, if you're going up to a defense or an offense that scores 45 to 41 points per game on average, and you want to slow them down, you run the football. You just run it down their throat. You tire out their defense, which already gives up a lot of points and already gives up a lot of yardage. Tire that defense out, make that offense stay off the field, and make the defense of LSU beat you instead of the offense of LSU to beat you. I think that's the key to win this game. I also think getting a turnover, maybe 1 or 2 turnovers, could also help this team out against LSU as well. But at the end of the day, I mean, I know that Billy Napier, you had that South Carolina game and you said, oh, wow, Graham Mertz can pass the football. I think they've kind of gotten away from the run game ever since that South Carolina game. And I think right now they're trying to find a healthy balance. And can you find a healthy balance of pass and run in this football game? I think that you can, especially against this defense. But at the same time, you got to keep LSU's offense off the field because they can score at will. And our defense has not been great as the season has went on. I mean, Jason Marshall, Jalen Kimber just about every time gives up a big 50-50 ball, and they're there to make the play, and they don't make the play. And that's the biggest thing, and that's the biggest shocker to me. And I had some Jason Marshall stats here too that I wanted to go over here real quick. In 2021, he only gave up 186 yards and 345 snaps, and he was targeted 38 times. 2022, 421 yards given up, led the team in coverage yards given up, 48 targets. So he had 10 more targets his way. 2023, 346 yards so far, 247 snaps. He still leads the team in coverage yards given up with only 26 targets. Jason Marshall's been targeted 12 less times than 2022 this year. It has almost tied his yardage given up in 2022 by 75 yards. 2023. So he's had 12 less targets and 3 more games to go, and he's almost given up as much yardage as he did last year. And I think that part of that's due to the defensive line, but I don't really think that our defensive line was decent last year that much either. I mean they created pressure, but
you had Javon and Britton Cox for a little bit. It was I would say a more mature defensive line, but yeah, I mean, look, yeah, how much of a difference? That was a good point too by Shannon Snell, how the defensive line impacts, because if you could pressure the quarterback, make them make a poor decision, and they're not, the mobility of quarterbacks nowadays too. I mean, you're Patrick Mahomes, and you got go ahead.
I was gonna say, I sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt. I also saw a few games. I saw Miami play a whole bunch of teams. TVD's got a whole bunch of time to throw the football, and they're still getting picked off. I mean, like, I think part of it,
that's because TVD sucks.
Yeah, TVD does suck. But like, I think part of it is quarterback getting too much time, and I also think part of it is just the players just not being there, miscommunications. And as you heard Shannon Snell, I mean, different DCs, you're gonna have different game plans, so I think that has to factor into it a lot. But I thought the defense was playing a little bit better towards the beginning of the season, and they've gradually gotten worse. I mean, that's just me. I mean, obviously, I mean, hell, I had a stat here that I posted from the Arkansas game that said, KJ Jefferson's rushed over 100 yards, and he averaged 7.9 yards per rush against Florida. West Carolina held KJ Jefferson to 1 yard per rush. Kent State 5.7, BYU 4.4, LSU 6.3. A&M 4.0, Ole Miss 3.8, Alabama 6.4, Mississippi State 6.2. And we give up 7.9 yards per rush. So they're not tackling either. So, I mean, like, how does I just don't understand if you're still
Polar
learning.
Dave's clocking in, boys. Buckle up.
If you're still learning the defense at the beginning of the year, how the hell have you not learned or at least given a little bit more effort to tackle somebody at the end of the year? I said last week, hit somebody this game.
I'm gonna make an excuse for them. Just a quick second. We could say, because KJ Jefferson wasn't, I feel like, running the ball as much. He wasn't trying to, and he didn't do it in the first half. And it was like, hey, I don't know, dude, you're 6'5", 250. You want to just try to run the guys over in front of you? Want to give that a shot? He goes, yeah, we can try it, and it worked. So I think that the new offensive coordinator was like, hey, KJ, you're really big and you're a weapon. Can we try using it? Where maybe the old offensive coordinator wasn't using that weapon. Now, that's again making an excuse, I know, but I'm gonna lean on that for the fact, because it feels like every team you play, they're like, yeah, they haven't done this effectively all season. Then they play Florida, and it's like, oh my gosh, we're really good at this. We just didn't know. You guys helped us.
I guess you kind of make a little bit of an excuse because you're having to prepare for an offensive coordinator you've never played against either at the same time. But I mean, guy only had like 2 weeks. So
look, I mean, so even in the last couple of drives that Arkansas had, it didn't look like the quarterback run was the designed play. It felt like there were a couple of times where there was a free blitzer that got through, and the guy in KJ Jefferson just had no other option but pull it down
run
and go into survival mode, right?
Yeah.
I mean, it'd be one thing if it's like, we've all had that one time where we're playing Madden or we're playing NCAA, and like, you're playing a buddy who never picks up the sticks, and he's just hitting the button. He's just hitting X every time, right? And he's just stuck on quarterback sneak for like 9 yards a rip. And you're like, I don't understand. Like, you're doing everything you can with your line stunts. You're moving things around. You're shooting the backers. Like, you're bringing in the corner on a corner blitz. Doesn't matter. The guy's just truck rolling you, and you can't figure out how to stop it. And then you got, like, it looks like Austin Armstrong has the perfect play dialed up. They just hit the guy. They bounce off of him like it's a freaking ping pong game. And then he's like, oh, well, there's nobody open. I guess I may as well take off. And then, 250 pounds takes like, 14, 15 yards to get up to speed. But it felt like Austin Armstrong had to be sitting there like pulling out whatever little bit of hair he has, because he's like, that was the perfect play. we hit the guy. We just can't tackle him.
Play calling
right.
play calling wasn't horrible. Let's talk about injuries really quick. We've got some guys coming back, which is some good news for the Florida Gators. Shamar James, Jack Pyburn, they are still out. Pyburn's out for the year with an ACL, if you guys missed that. But Tyreek Sapp, Cam Jackson, they are back in the lineup. Reminder, that was a tough look. I mean, we were thin last week. And so we're thin still this week, but we're a little bit thicker than we were. So that's some positives headed into this week. So glad to have those guys back on the line. Tyreek Sapp is definitely a pulse on that defense. So those are the only really big changes I saw in regards to.
Devin Moore is ahead of Jalen Kimber too on the depth chart. But I mean, really doesn't matter, but still.
Okay, didn't see that.
You guys have had some choice words for Kimber. I mean, I don't know your roster quite the way that you guys do, but I've seen the Discord and I've seen some of the chats that are going on during the game and things like that. Like Kimber has not been sitting in very high favor with some of the fans, so I think that's a more pleasant change on the depth chart than I think we're giving it credit for. Everybody seemed to be pretty excited about that.
Yeah, very much. Devin Moore, there's a lot of great things said about him in camp last year and this year, and it's kind of like when are we going to see more of him? So
more and more.
Anybody? No? Okay. I thought that was pretty good. More. Okay. Anyways, so we'll see how that works out. Jaden Daniels obviously on protocol day to day. I feel like I don't know why we find ourselves in these conversations. We had it with Utah with Cam Rising, then we had it with Georgia with Brock Powers, and here we are now with LSU of like their best player may not play. Will it matter? Like that's the story of our life right now. So
Uncle Lou's already getting a video fired up. Like you know what's happening right now.
I don't want to take the bait. I don't want to get in this conversation. It's like we have this debate. Like, well, if he doesn't play and we do this, we move this, we might have a chance to win. And now I'm assuming because obviously Coach Billy and Sapp they watch the show. We're not helping them because they're like, well, fuck, maybe should we be concerned about this? Should we worry about this? No, don't worry about it. Just play the damn game. Who cares if it's Nussmeier or Jaden Daniels back there? Both are great quarterbacks. Go play the damn football game. Jaden Daniels is not going to play unless he rolls his ankle on the way off the bus. Other than that, the concussion protocol, I know the doctor of the team has to clear it. Stop it.
You mean the guy who's employed by LSU?
Stop it. He's going to play. He is going to play. He's going to throw for 300 yards. Just expect it. Okay? Doesn't matter. I don't even want to take the bait. I don't even want to have a conversation about it because it's so irrelevant. I feel like we wasted a month and a half on Cam Rising. The kid hasn't put on a pad, bro. Like, what's up, dude? He's not playing the whole year. We spent 4 months talking about him. Will he not play? He was never playing. There was never a chance. Not a chance in hell he was playing. Bastards.
I just want us to get 11 people on the field on special teams. That's all I want.
Too soon.
Can I get a wish?
Too soon.
Look, I want to give Utah a pat on the back for giving us, just the ability to make content off that. I mean,
it's true.
Think about how much time we've spent talking about the Cam Rising effect and whether or not that would have any impact on that game. And I mean, if anything else, it was just a ton of buildup on the anticipation of who's going to walk out there on the field game one. So, look, if anything, thanks, Utah.
Imagine, but think about it. The Vegas line moved a week before because it was said that he would be playing. Like, just here we are 11 weeks later. It's like that guy never had a chance of playing. And when we were thinking, I was like, that's a hell of a recovery. Like, I know Aaron Rodgers is going to come back in like 3 days from his Achilles injury, but that's Aaron Rodgers. I expect that from Aaron Rodgers. I don't expect this from a college kid, right? And Cam Rising. But either way, he's going to be fine. He's not going anywhere. Boys and girls, be sure to smash the like button, subscribe. Again, we just hit 18,000 subs, so let's keep this family growing as much as we possibly can until you guys get sick of us, and we'll just go by the wayside. But until then, we're going to have a good time and enjoy ourselves. Let's get into not somewhat fun stuff. My bookie, been atrocious. I had an okay week last week. We had a push. We all had a push with the Ole Miss game. So if that's not a loss, which I was ecstatic about, I'm learning the Florida game is what's killing me, right? Because I'm picking with my heart every single time. Like, I've given everyone too much shit for picking opposing teams. I cannot not pick the Gators now, right? Even if my wallet is in the line, I can't because I've made my bed and I've got to lay in it. I'm catching up to Dave, which kills me to say. I had a little bit of a run. He struggled. I'm down 1. Steve is basically huh?
You picked Kansas too.
Oh, I knew that one was a lock. I wasn't worried about Kansas. I picked No, I picked Oklahoma State, you mean?
Oklahoma State.
I picked Kansas last week. I picked OSU this week. I felt good about it, and there's good reason.
Okay.
We all got Notre Dame
You're starting to fall
wrong.
in line with me. You're starting to fall in line with the screw OU thing. I like that.
Yeah, I mean, I've always been on that train. Let's not get it twisted.
Come on.
Now, I will
Rabbit.
say, the last week or 2 weeks, we usually do a big one. We've only been doing 7. But in years past, we always throw a bunch out there to give the people that are behind an opportunity to bounce back. So, Dave, we got a chance to catch up to Steve here. We've got 3 weeks left, though, to somewhat make a run. It's just tough with 7 games to make a run, but I'm making excuses because that's all I got. These are tough here.
Just for the record, that last week of the year is always fun because you've got so many rivalry games that are played. You got Washington State, you've got Clemson, South Carolina, Michigan, Ohio State, Florida State. There's so many the last game of the year rivalries that it's not going to be hard to put together a pretty big slate of games for that.
My dumb head forgot to put the new one in here. Hold on.
Hey, like I'm confused a little bit here.
I was looking at it too, going like, "Hey, I've these games we've picked before. What's going on here?" All right.
Maybe you'll get more right this time.
Yeah, I was like, "Hey, I might not miss now."
Hey, I'm back.
All right, Dave, you're gonna go first, big guy. Gators versus LSU. Gators
That's
get 14.
LSU.
I knew eventually you guys would break. You have to. You know where I'm at.
Fuck you, pussies. I'm Ryan Strong, baby.
Oh boy!
I don't look.
You went into this saying the reason. You know what I realized is it's the Florida game that's killing me.
Man of my word. Man of my word. I'm not going anywhere. Not going anywhere. Steve, Blue versus Penn State. Michigan's favorite by 4.5. And it is confirmed they don't have any of their signs. If that had any sway in your decision.
Maybe. I will say this: I don't believe there's any suspensions looming prior to that game, so I'm going to take Michigan to cover that 4.5. I don't trust Penn State to score, but I think we'll find out a lot about Michigan this week. They're finally playing somebody with a pulse, so
for sure.
That's exciting.
Dave,
Yeah, I'm picking Michigan too. Penn State sucks.
They do suck.
gosh, this is where this sucks because that's like I can make a decision. I was gonna go Michigan here. I can't do that. I gotta take my W's where I can. All right, Tennessee versus Mizzou. I've been riding this Tiger train all day, all week, all year long, baby. I ain't leaving it. Give me the Tiggies.
Yeah, I'm the
Dave?
same way. Same thing. Same thing.
Give me 10. I'll go Big Orange on this one.
You're a piece of shit.
I mean, I don't like Milton. I think he's trash, but I'm gonna flip to the other side. Give you boys a chance to claw back into this thing.
Thank you, piece of shit. Dave, we got Ole Miss versus the Dogs, -11. It's at Georgia. This is a big game, though. This is a big game for both teams. Ole Miss needs a lot to happen for them to have an opportunity. But we were talking pregame before David interrupted me about how this playoff thing could shake up, right? And so Ole Miss is one of those teams that could somehow be in the conversation if a lot of things in front of them go their way. So this is a massive game for them, although they have zero control of their destiny. Dave?
So listen, I want Ole Miss to win because I do not like Georgia, but I do not trust Lane Whiffen and his recruiting, so I'm going with Georgia.
Yeah, Lane Whiffen needed Texas A&M to Texas A&M all down their own Texas A&M leg in order to pull that game off this week. So I'm going to assume that Georgia will not Texas A&M down their own Georgia leg. So I'm going to go with Georgia to cover that 11 at home.
No, they needed LSU to beat Bama. That's what Ole Miss needed.
No. Ole Miss played Texas A&M, and Texas A&M literally had to shit down their own leg in order for Ole Miss to walk out.
Yeah.
Texas A&M. Hey, just for the record, you guys always say it's a running joke that if you want your quarterback to look like a Heisman contender, just play Florida, and that'll put him on the radar, the Heisman radar. This is a Soderquist thing. He says it all the time. I want to point out that Texas A&M, I think, is actually where that moniker lives. It does not matter how bad your team is. If you can line up against Texas A&M, you get the name recognition, you get the coach recognition. You're going up against a big team, but you can always pull it off, and you can always walk away and be like, "Oh, wow, we beat Texas A&M," because anybody can.
Too legit. Says Shelton picks too much with his heart. He'll never finish betting football on the green. I'd rather die a man of my word than be a sucker who talks shit in comment section all day long and won't call in when he has the opportunity to call in. So you damn right I'll finish in the losing column. punk ass.
Take that too legit.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. The Knowles.
That black, it's always the black. So now, like, look, he's wearing the black hoodie. He's got a little bit of attitude this week. Are you gonna wear black next week, Ollie?
I'll see what I can do. I got a couple floating around here. Look, I may be wearing black because of a FSU's funeral.
You spit it out, bitch. All right, we got Knowles versus Miami. In Doak, Knowles favored by 15. Steve?
I don't like the spread. I mean, FSU is going to win that game, but it's in a rivalry game. I wouldn't take 15 points. I'll take Miami and their loser ass to stay within 15. I think they'll stay within 15. We'll win that game though.
But
15 points is a lot for me. I'm sorry. Where's that trophy sitting, Shelton? Right now. This is why I'm winning, people. This right here. Oh, get off.
Oh, man. Your mom raised a bitch. All right. Fuck. I was going to take Miami, bro. I thought I had a chance here. This pisses me off. Fuck it. Let's ride, baby. I hate both teams. So this is a win-win. Unless they cover it but still lose. Miami needs to go win this bitch. Should ride outright. But I'm going to take FSU here. They pull away like they've been doing it all year, win by 16.
There you go.
So Miami's got some playmakers. Rashard Smith. Didn't really use them last week, and Kitchens and some of those other guys. But TVD's going to throw them like 3 interceptions. So I think Florida State's going to cover that 15. I'm going Florida State.
Look, I'm cheering for Miami. Let's not get this twisted, boys. But I also got to play the betting game here because I built my heart too much. Fucking idiots. All right, we got Washington and the Utes. Washington's favored by 10. I think the Utes season, they got absolutely just demolished by Oregon. I also think Oregon is way better than Washington, though. This one is a trap game, I believe, for Washington. It's in Washington, though. I like Washington to roll.
I'll go Utah with the 10 points. Even though I don't think they're going to win, I'll go Utah, 10 points. I believe a little bit better.
Oh, man. Washington is the tale of just schizophrenia right now. I mean, two games against Arizona State and Stanford that looked like they had never thrown a forward pass before. And then they come out and they just go bananas and get a defensive coordinator fired at USC. I'm going to go Washington. We talked about Utah still rotating, 18 quarterbacks back there. So I'll say that Washington and their staple at quarterback is going to be more tried and true than whatever the hell Utah's been doing. Utah got a little exposed, I think, against Oregon.
Yeah, I think their trickery has been dialed in for sure. Oregon, the Ducks -15 in Oregon against crybaby Caleb Williams and USC. Steve?
I have a feeling that Caleb Williams is going to go home to pet his dogs yet again. Maybe watch a little TV. I'm going to take Oregon to cover that 15 points and just really break the back of USC in their will to live. Please. I couldn't
agree more. I think Oregon has a point to prove because, like we were saying in the precast when Dave interrupted me, how it came to be was, how do we get FSU out of the Final Four if they go undefeated? And so, if Georgia's undefeated going into the SEC Championship, Bama beats Georgia, both teams are going to be in. I don't see how both teams don't get in. Just follow along. So you got Georgia and Bama 1-2. Michigan, Ohio State, I'm assuming both those teams are going to be undefeated until they're not. So one of those teams will be in there. Boom, done, set. Okay, cool. 3 spots. If Oregon wins out in dominant fashion, like they did at Utah, and win the Pac-12 championship, I said I like them in over FSU. I know that doesn't make sense. I know logically you can't leave out an undefeated ACC champion, but a boy can dream. So I feel like this is going to look, Oregon, in a way, they control their destiny, but some things do have to happen in front of them. So this is a game where they've got to make a statement, because if it does come up for a decision, they better have this game pretty well checked off of like, hey, you kicked ass against USC. Because even though Washington kind of only won by a touchdown, go bury them. I like 15.
Yeah, I like Oregon too. Ain't nothing wrong with having a bad day going to your mama, because mom knows best. But I think Caleb Williams is going to be crying to mama again.
Gosh, I'm not gonna catch up like this. Hate this shit. I only have like one game. Like, we're all the same here. I can get one back on Mizzou. The Florida one, that's gonna be a big one. That's where I could really just make a big turn for the W there. FSU will
Both
be a
you guys
good
are
one.
going to be pulling for FSU. Yeah, see?
I'll be happy if I lose that one. If we win the game, of course.
Yeah, true. That's where the Miami one's like weird. I'm like, I'm okay if I lose it, but not really, because if they win by like 5, then I'm gonna be double pissed. Right? That's gonna be the worst. Oh, this is
my original score was 31-17 FSU, and to your point, Shelton, it'll be a close game until FSU like sneaks a touchdown in, then you get a TVD turnover, and then FSU sneaks another touchdown in, and then they just kind of ride out the second half of the game, just doing enough to keep the other team out of the end zone. And it ends up being like a 14-point win, 31-17. Everybody just walks away. But it's just rinse and repeat. It just feels like that's FSU's mantra all year long is win by 14, win by 17. That's about it.
I'll say this: if you guys lose to Miami, that's just get ready.
If they lose to Miami, Steve will not be on the show on Wednesday, guaranteed you, and you won't hear from his ass for a week in the Discord. Because I promise you, I've been seeing the shit talking. No, it's been noted. Your life's gonna be hell. Just so you know.
I already live in the Discord. It's already hell. Like, it never stops. Like, I mean, it's just today, I've basically been told that we would have lost to Kentucky. We would have lost to, God knows who else.
I'm doubling down. I'm doubling down. I don't care. All right, boys. That was our MyBookie segment. Again, go to mybookie.ag. Use code HIGHTOP to get some love. Spoke with our MyBookie guys. They say, hey, family's doing great. You guys are gambling away. So appreciate you guys being degenerates. Keep signing up. Keep blowing your money. And don't follow me along. Tag tail behind Steve there. I met Mike Bozeman, who was a clutch at the event on Friday. And he was showing me all of his picks and how much money he's won. He's like, yeah, I would never follow your ass. You fucking suck. I was like, thanks, bro. He's like, my account would be empty if I followed you along. All right, man, cool. Appreciate it. Good talk. Happy to see you. All right, let's go. Yeah, thanks, man. Tweets of the week.
Hold up. Before you start that, Florida, breaking news. Florida landed the 7'6" Oliver Ruiz. I guess it's Ruiz, the world's tallest teenager, has pledged the Golden and the Gators for the basketball team.
7'6"?
7'6". If they have him at a Florida Victorious event in the future, I want to take a picture beside him.
Is he playing point guard?
Is he playing the basket?
I have
Holy
no clue about basketball. Let's see. Let me click his profile. Doesn't have like a position. It says C. What does C mean?
Center. I assumed he was a center. I was completely joking. I thought I didn't realize I was gonna go way over your head there. Holy crap! Look at this guy.
I'm not a basketball guy.
Speaking of tweets of the week, look at this guy.
Why is he holding a golden sack,
bro?
He doesn't even have to like hardly jump to dunk it.
Bro, he looks like
Castleton drafted in like the European League. Like,
he looks like Colin Castleton's big brother or little brother. Or
Colin. I'm a short guy. Colin Castleton was tall next to me. This dude's gonna overtower me.
Yeah.
Bro, that is huge, bro. And what's great is like usually big guys like this, they're lengthy little guys. He's a fucking tank, bro. That's a big boy.
He's 2 foot taller than me.
Well, everyone's 2 foot taller than you, Dave. How can we? What's his weight? Do we know his weight? That's a big boy.
1.5, not 2. What?
That's a big boy, bro. Let's go. Hey, Golden and boys out there. They're out there recruiting. Ricky goes to make people that big, bro. 7'6", bro. Like I can't even comprehend that size. You know what I mean? Like that doesn't even like make sense to me in my head.
He makes everybody look.
Does he drive a Prius?
How tall is Wimby? How tall is Victor Wimby? You guys have no clue who that is. I'm talking to walls here. Oh.
That's like Yao Ming. Wouldn't Yao Ming like that tall? Wouldn't Yao Ming like
Ming
7?
Was that tall.
Victor Wimby is 7'4". He's taller than
like
Victor
7'4".
Wimby. He's taller than Victor Wimbyambe. You don't know who that is, do you? I hate it here. All right. Anyways, he's like the next LeBron James. That's nothing. All right, cool. Anyways, you guys need to be cultured. Smash the like button, boys and girls.
Basketball on ice. It's called hockey. I'll watch that.
This clip was wild to me. Texas A&M player just straight uppercut to the family jewels.
Like gave him the Ric Flair, man.
Woo! Like and oh, I mean, and look, he kept going. Unbelievable. He ended up getting
the fact that my dude didn't even flinch.
It was. I don't think he made full contact. His thigh kind of blocked it.
We're in a cup too, though. You got to think we're in a cup.
Oh yeah,
I
that
don't
solves
know.
everything. Yeah, dude. Just here, you go put a cup on. Let me sucker punch, uppercut you in the nuts, Dave.
I mean, he's got all the skill, man. You never know.
And that's what makes the content here at High Top Sports better.
He could have used Manscaped before he got hit in the balls.
Oh man.
And welcome to the Jackass segment of the show. We'll we'll be stapling things to one another here soon.
Next, we have a tweet from Blue Orange Gator. It says an educational video for Chris Couch and Billy Napier. I do not support this video, by the way. First quarterback
This is
in
how
history.
you know that the man's give up. The man has given up. He doesn't want to play football anymore.
First
He just doesn't
quarterback
want to play.
in history to get sacked by a ghost is Tyler Van Dyke. Oh no. That's like the butt fumble.
Oh yeah, yeah, for sure.
He just said, I don't want to get hit anymore. Please don't. Please don't. Oh,
Yeah, this guy's going to stand up to Florida State's defensive line for 4 quarters. I just
Oh God, Holly's getting way too cocky. For the love of God, somebody
he just laid down. The man just laid down on the ground with nobody touching him. It's not going to get any better next week or this week, whatever day we're on.
That's why I picked Florida State. Exactly why I picked Florida State.
All right, Dave, explain this.
Okay, blow it up. Blow it up. Old man.
Am I reading this?
Yeah, you got to read that first.
So it says Shane Beamer said he saw former Gamecocks quarterback Steven Garcia in town for the reunion of Steve Spurrier's 2010-2013 team after the Jack State game. Beamer, it appeared as if he had a hell of a time at the pregame tailgate. Referring to Stephen Garris.
And this is Steven Garcia right here that made this post.
Steven Garcia posted that?
Yeah.
What a legend.
Oh wow, Steven Garcia is a wild dude, bro. Like he's never stopped just being a college bro.
No, yeah.
What?
Garcia is funny, man. He's a funny dude.
What a legend. I was just like, that someone posted it like as if, but that makes that thing. That's what you dream for about Twitter, right? We all like post what we think somebody's gonna say, but when the person actually posts what we all think he would say, it's the perfect. This is a perfect tweet. It's a perfect tweet of the week. That's all we got. It's weird. I felt like there were some other great ones out there.
Is that one okay? Is that one good?
That one's phenomenal. That one's well thought out. I mean, there's some other great ones that I saw just by strolling on Twitter this week. That
go ahead and show my genre.
Is there one specific that you can think of?
You know, I would, if you thought about it, like, I mean, there's a few good ones out there, but I don't. Off the top, you know what? Actually, no. You know what? I queued it up because I'm tired of getting jabbed. Okay, I had it queued up. Oh wait, there's this one. There's one more. Sorry, hold on. There's one more. Steve Spur. Hold on. We're gonna go to mine because I just ruined the intro. So I tweeted this out, which is absolutely incredible. The reason why I know it's good is I showed Steve and Steve last. So it said how Gators feel watching Wilson being used. I don't care who you are. That is gold.
That was amazingly good.
I'm pissed that got overlooked. Again, I don't mind being overlooked when I should be, but that golden.
I retweeted it.
So just for the insight here, guys, if anybody doesn't know, in the precast before the Wednesday show, Dave submits his tweets of the week for us to cover them here at the wrap up of the Wednesday live. Shelton has made it clear that, look, my tweets are eligible for tweets of the week. and he feels like maybe there should just be a little bit of inside. Like, you might have a little inside track if it's a 50-50 ball, that he should be the one
Like,
who
I know,
gets
I
it
know
here.
the guy, right? Like, I know the guy who
Yeah,
who runs
I got a
the
guy.
segment.
Right, I
You
got a
know?
guy on the inside. So this happens like every week in the precast. Like Dave goes and submits them, and then Shelton just kind of goes through them, and you can all of a sudden he gets that look like, did you look at the analytics?
The
behind one that
the comments
I
are
posted?
the comments are confirming that it was a
About
great
the
tweet.
one that I put out.
To be fair, the two that I have recommended have been bangers. I haven't overshot my shot yet. I don't feel like I've ruined my, like, saying like, oh, he's just doing it because, you know, it's he's running the show. He's just trying to get away. No.
It's okay. You didn't put mine up there, so
Sorry.
it's okay. You didn't put mine up there, so
I am not getting in between the middle of you and John Ruiz. I refused to get involved with your love affair with John Ruiz. I'm not doing it.
So, let me
I'm not
explain it
doing
real.
No, I'm not getting. I don't want to get that guy. The guy is cancerous. I don't want his people. I don't want my Twitter being hit with, hey, you've been sued. I don't need any of that. I don't need any of that.
You don't want to get one of those fucking what do you call it, the little things he sends you, you know, the little subpoenas they tries to send you
No,
in DM.
I don't want any of that.
Oh, the cease and
You like
desist.
that. I don't want any of that.
Cease and desist, yes.
Yeah, cease
don't-
and desist, man. Got to cease and desist.
I don't want that. He's having a bad day, and I don't want to be the guy that pisses on his Cheerios. Okay, I feel like he's gotten enough.
He's basically blocked everybody anyway. I mean, he's not talking to anybody anymore.
Yeah, he's shut down completely. He's not even talking to the recruits anymore. Clearly, look at the recruiting class. Well, boys and girls, hell of a show as always. Great last tweet there. That's how you close out that segment. Again, guys, be sure to smash the like button, subscribe. We just again hit 18,000 subs. Absolutely incredible. Pleasure as always getting to hang out with these boys and chit chat. Shout out again to Mr. Shannon Snell for coming on here. Such a great take and a pleasure getting to talk to him. Be sure to go follow him. He's a blast on Twitter. Does not hold any punches. Stoked to see him have Sonny's here in St. Augustine. And if you are going to beat the Florida State game, go see him. Go get some barbecue, hang out. But until next time, boys and girls, I'm Shelton. God bless. Boogity, boogity, boogity.
I'm Holly.
And I just report the news.
You guys be good. Love you. Sleep tight. On the Bedbugs Bite. Like and subscribe.